Hey, Walking Dead fans, welcome back to the channel. We're going to do an Beta origin story, kind of at least what Ryan Hurst has told us. It was on The Talking Dead, and he told us a little bit about what he came up with as far as the backstory of Beta for the show. Now, the comic was a little different. We didn't learn a whole lot about Beta's backstory. We did learn what he was and who he was, or what he did as a profession and who he was and stuff. But in the show, Ryan Hurst got with Angela Kang when they brought him on board, and they developed a little bit more of a backstory, and a little bit of that played out in the show. Of course, spoiler alert, if you're not caught up to season 10 of The Walking Dead, I will be talking about stuff that's happened in the show. So we had already learned earlier in season 10 kind of how Beta and Alpha met for the first time. Alpha, of course, had Lydia with her, and they met Beta after being chased by some walkers and into a building where Beta was. We learned that through that scene, the skin mask that Beta wears that he never takes off was from his best friend. And why he never takes his mask off is going to be revealed in this video as I talk about it. We had already found out through different clues, one being in Fear the Walking Dead, that Beta was a singer, some type of singer. We had seen an album cover fall out of Daniel Salazar's case. He had a case of records. One of them just happened to have Beta's face on it. So we did learn that he was a singer. We didn't know what type of music. And then at Hilltop, we heard some music. Magna was playing a record at Hilltop. And we found out since then, from the episode Season 10, Look at the Flowers, we find out that the band was named Half Moon, and it could have been his name because he talks, when they talk about it, he kind of almost says it's his name, but then he also says the band. And if you can see, like on the posters, it does say in concert Half Moon and the legendary singer himself. So, is it the band? Is it him? Is it both? But through all that, we find he was a country singer, and his music, country music, and that he was one of the biggest things ever, I guess. So Ryan Hurst said originally it was one of those weird things when I had read the comic, when they brought me on board to do the show. Beta was an actor and a basketball player. But the way it was revealed in the comic almost felt like more of a comedic bit than anything else. And I didn't really see any sort of real longevity to that for the narrative over 2 or 3 seasons. So I was like, what can we come up with that has more legs to it? And notice he said 2 or 3 seasons. So when they brought him on board, they were talking about his backstory. How is this narrative going to play over 2 or 3 seasons? And the Whispers showed up in season 9. And really halfway through season 9, and we're about to wrap up season 10, so that's only been a season and a half. So does it sound like Beta's going to be around a little bit longer, that his story will continue on into season 11? That's kind of what it sounds like right there. The idea that Beta was a country singer came to the actor while meditating, and a background Hurst pitched to showrunner Angela Kang. I just had this little vision. I was just trying to think of, I wanted to keep his mask on all the time. And I was trying to think of narratively why someone would keep a mask on all the time. I just sort of invented this little backstory about him being a country music singer and a source of sort of inspiration to people before the apocalypse. But the world famous musician had a traumatic encounter at the onset of the outbreak that forced him to keep his face hidden beneath what I call a ski mask. Ryan said, I just had this idea about what if right after the apocalypse, somebody broke into his house and he had to end up killing somebody defending his family or something. In my mind, I just sort of ran with this idea, like somebody broke into his house, he had to defend his family, and he was killing them. He was stabbing them, and he flipped them over, and he saw the person he was killing was wearing his band's t-shirt. So I was like, that would be a reason why somebody would sort of cloak who they were for the rest of the apocalypse, Hurst added. He was going to let the life that he led before the apocalypse continue to inspire people, but if he had to kill people in the meantime, he's going to do that also. But under a mask, I'm adding this part, but under a mask from what, he said before and overall in general. So he was some sort of country singer, inspiration to people. People loved him. He was huge and just a positive thing almost, it sounds like. And he wanted to keep that alive if he could by masking who he was in the apocalypse. He knew he was going to become some evil killing machine pretty much just to survive in the apocalypse with all the trauma that's been going on and he suffered and stuff like that. He didn't want people to see Half Moon doing that. Oh, Half Moon, he just killed a bunch of people. Half Moon, he's leading the Whispers, or Half Moon, this or that. That's Beta. That's an unnamed person. He's wearing a mask. You don't know who he is. He's kind of disguising his voice as well. So as far as a character, as far as Beta, the character in the show, he had that traumatic thing happen to him where he killed a fan and he realized, hey, I'm going to have to kill people in the apocalypse, so I'm going to cover my face, and that positive thing that happened before, I'm going to try to keep it alive. If you remember in the earlier episode where Alpha and Beta met, Beta did let Alpha raise the ski mask or the mask up to see him, and she kind of smiled and was like, oh yeah, you're that dude. And maybe she actually understood what he was trying to do in that moment. But those are some of the details we got on Beta and his backstory straight from Beta himself pretty much. It is different than the comic. In the comic, he was a basketball player, an actor, famous person, and as far as inspirational, and that's why he wore the mask. I don't know if we ever really found that out exactly. So one thing I mentioned in the review video that we saw him, Beta, in that room above the hotel, and it had his records and poster, and that's where he stabbed the head of Alpha and stuff like that. Some of you guys said you thought that was his old room. And in the beginning, when we just saw the trailers and stuff, I thought maybe it was. Or I actually thought maybe it was somewhere he kind of slipped off from the Whispers and he kind of had his own little room set up where he had spent a few days or something. But it ended up the head of Alpha, did that walker talk and sent him to this little old town, and this hotel was this room, and he kind of had what Ryan Hurst called a suicide note, that it read, "These two eyes see one truth." But what did that note mean? These two eyes see one truth. And Beta said, "Thank you for letting me see. I finally see," that kind of stuff. And so Beta had half of his mask ripped off, and the mask is from the face of his best friend. So he took half of Alpha's face and made a mask, the other half. So now he is looking through, what did the note say? These two eyes. He is looking through one eye of his best friend and one eye of Alpha, and these two eyes see one truth. Ryan said writer Channing Powell wanted to hit it from a lot of different angles, and so they decided to just write this little note that was an ambiguous, nuanced sort of suicide note that this person who was holed up in this hotel decided to write right before they shot themselves. It was all these kind of little bits that were leading up to this idea that he has to kill Alpha and become the Beta Alpha or the Alpha Beta. This sort of Half Moon idea, the note, are all sort of hints that bring us to him deciding, I have to become the Alpha also. And as Ryan was saying this on The Talking Dead, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who plays Negan, was there as well, and he spoke up and said the Half Moon Alpha. In the comic, of course, Beta scoffed at the idea that there would ever be another Alpha and said, no, there will never be another Alpha. But in the show, it looks like Beta has become the Alpha Beta. So that's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool twist. However it is with the country music and everything that they rounded about finally getting to this point, hey, it's cool. I like this point going forward that Beta is the Alpha Beta. They may keep him around for a while, I'm not sure, but that's pretty cool. The Whisper War is coming to a close somewhat. Beta, they may change up everything. They've got Alden and Aaron, and as far as in the comic, it was Jesus and Aaron that finally tracked Beta down and did him in. So is that going to be Aaron and Alden? Will they take Beta a whole different direction and even make him last longer, become a more bigger, badder villain in some way? I do think we're going to get another pretty good fight. I do think we may even see Negan and Beta fight and Negan break the bat that he has over Beta's back. I think all of that still is most likely going to happen, which is going to be badass. So I can't wait to see it. I hope it happens in episode 16, but it may be next season before that happens, just depending on how it all plays out. So a lot of Beta's story left to go. Let me know what you guys thought about his backstory, the tragic event that happened in the beginning, and what you think about it all. The season finale has been delayed because of the pandemic going on in the world. I hope everyone stays safe and hangs in there and just does the correct thing. Stay at home, social distancing, because that is the way to beat this thing until we can get a vaccine or something going, some better treatment. Just hang in there. We'll try to get through it. We're actually kind of just in the beginning at the making of this video. This is early April, and we're all hoping for the best and trying to work on it together. And my name's James. I'm in the Nashville area, and people around here, a lot of them, they're not really listening. They're still going out and about and doing stuff. So I'm hoping people will wise up and kind of stay home more, because that's, like I say, really the only way we can beat this. Let me know your status, what's going on in your part of the world, and let me know what you thought about this video, Beta's backstory, in the comments below, and I will join you there. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more dead stuff.